name's Tiffany and welcome to my channel Foxey Sunrise. Today we have a pick a card reading and we're going to talk about the themes of October. So we have 3 groups today. Group 1 is agreement. Group 2 is reward. And group 3 got 2 cards. Change and completion. It came out sideways, so. Alright. All the timestamps will be down below in the description box, as well as my socials and offerings. So I'll see you at your pile. Hey group 1. Welcome to your reading on the themes of October. So your overall theme for October was agreement in reverse. Okay. So we have Scorpio, Mercury, and the Sun also in reverse. So there's a lot of separation energy here in the month of October for you. There may be some introspection or secrecy, or there's this feeling of being really low-key in October, especially when we inch towards the end of October, whenever we shift from Libra to Scorpio season. And some of you may be Scorpio suns, or you may have Mercury in Scorpio also. I do provide a astrology birth chart calculator underneath the timestamp, so if you want to look into that, you can. If you have your time of birth, it is more specific. Yeah, so this feels like somebody who's breaking off from friends or from going out as much. It feels hermited, but it almost feels like you're wanting to be a little bit less overwhelmed by stimulation and you're wanting to spend more time alone. And this could be for the fact that you're feeling guided towards introspection and also self-discovery through practices that may push you to be, or may require you to be, in solitude. So meditation or journaling, or even practices that are occult by nature. So I also see you taking maybe classes or doing research on things like psychic ability or the subconscious mind, or even studying your own psychology in your own like privacy and solitude. Or if you are going out to take certain classes, or you're in like a community when you're doing this, no one really knows. It's not like something that you're sharing with other people. Okay, so these are the challenges for October. We have fated to suffer and fragmentation. Oh my gosh. Okay. Alright, I'm gonna go ahead and shuffle. Can I get the most relevant messages for one about their overall themes? What's the energy about in October? Yeah, it's like you're in hiding. In October, like, nobody's gonna see you. I don't know why. I guess you're just trying to avoid, I don't know if it's conflict or, again, like, excess energy. Like, you're taking October to recharge, to step away from any, maybe this is like a break off from a relationship. It could be a break off from a group, but there's definitely an introverted, introspective energy here. And it feels like your energy is almost cloaked. Like, even from me, it feels like whatever you're doing, you're not really telling people about it. You're kind of doing your own thing. You're definitely not really fucking with anybody during October. And some of you may be Sagittarius risings. So you may have Scorpio in your 12th house. Or if you're an Aries rising, you may have Scorpio in your 8th house. So this is what I'm seeing as well. Or Scorpio in the 4th. So in any of the water houses, the sun at the towards the end of October may be illuminating those more sensitive and subconscious emotional parts of your chart, which may be why you're kind of feeling there may be an illumination of some things that you're internally needing to deal with, especially when it comes to your sense of expression and your authenticity and who you really are and who you want to express yourself to be, and how you've done that or failed to do that. And also your mind, dealing with the weight of your mind or the way that your mind may operate, and sort of trying to sift through that, cleanse it, or even just examine it in some way. And a lot of that's being done away from people, away from any extra stimuli. So I'm definitely seeing a more introspective and witchy, very like, I want to say the word nerdy because I feel like there's some like research going on too, but it's more, I feel like it's more research about your inner world. So again, like psychology, or maybe even archetypes, which I feel also touches upon psychology. So I just want to look at the description of these cards, specifically Fated to Suffer. I just want to see what that reads. Okay. Alright, so the stage for this is depression. And the moon is waxing gibbous, which means it's moving towards full moon. The quote is, feeling confined into a script forced by other and never really fought, heading toward a destination of pain. Wow. Okay. If you know the future, you forsake your choices. Only with no fate, life is free to unfold into unknown shores. So it's kind of this Snow White vibe with the apple and this kind of sweet, innocent girl. Okay. Once upon a time, we believed in fairy tales. They were the voice of common sense, the educational tool which prepared us to duty, danger, and morals. Some things we would never accept if they were told by a single voice. So the world arranges us to hear them with 1,000 voices, 1,000,000 voices. It's about what you can do and what you can't do. What are you worth, and what can you aspire to? It's about what you like, what you want, what you hold dear. It creates a script which becomes as strong as all the voices that believe that script combined. So much that you cannot see another path. Are you truly seeing Snow White in the card? Is this story truth? Is this story truly the only one that this image can tell? What if the apple is not poisoned? What if the witch is not evil? Is that the same as what you look at in your life? Is it truly what you think it is? Are there not any other options? Is the opinions of others honestly better than ours? Even if they are many and we are only one, are you fated to suffer? It is not that there is no suffering in the world. The point is that there is no fate. So it's your choice. Wow, that's beautiful. So it definitely makes sense why there's some introspection and your energy is being pulled away from others. And the fragmentation card, what I was getting from that was sort of a fragmentation inward, since it's in reverse. There's an inward fragmentation. It kind of reminds me of the Tower card, Major Arcana card in Tarot. So there's definitely, and I feel that with Scorpio energy, if there is something emotional happening, you in public you won't see it, but they'll go off in like their little cave or corner and process it within their own space, because that's where they feel comfortable, especially with them feeling more vulnerable. They are the least likely out of all of the water signs to, even if they express their vulnerability, I feel like it's usually still in this stoic way where they still look strong. They're not the type of water sign that's going to cry in public, unless, of course, there's other placements. But from what I've observed of Scorpio, if they're going through trying times, they're going to go do this in solitude. So it's very likely that this group specifically, if you chose group 1, you have some prominent Scorpio placements. So that would be your sun, your moon, your rising, Venus, Mercury. So all of those are personal planets, so they're closest to us, and also physically closer to the sun, which the sun is our personality, our soul, our spirit, archetypically speaking and symbolically speaking when we're talking about astrology. So this, when I was reading that Fated to Suffer card, there was a lot of mention, like the word script came out. So I feel that this group, the themes for October, is really highlighting, again, like I mentioned, the 4th, the 8th, and the 12th house being illuminated when the sun transitions into Scorpio, which should happen around October 21st, 22nd, or 23rd. It really just depends, but around that time. And maybe in the shadow periods of that, like as we're getting closer towards Scorpio season, there may be this urge to pull in, to pull your energy in, because there's a need to, again, examine these areas in which we haven't shown up authentically, and maybe even repressed the expression of ourselves. So maybe we didn't say certain things when the time was appropriate to say those things, or we haven't fully expressed ourselves authentically. So sifting through, again, like where we have believed the opinions of others, where we've been affected by our environment and the way that we've grown up, so even the way that we've been nurtured, and examining how that's affected the way that you've shown up or haven't shown up. So those are some deep things to sift through, and that may be coming up. Like, it's almost as if, and the snake is one of the animals associated with Scorpio as well. So the snake, the scorpion, and the eagle. And I'm just seeing the image of the snake shedding its skin, and I'm assuming here that this, before the snake starts to shed, it has this very intuitive and instinctual instinctual feeling that that moment is about to come. So that's when it begins to sort of move into darker areas to be able to have that privacy to do that. I don't know much about snakes, to be honest. I don't know if they're weaker or more exhausted or tired whenever they are molting and shedding. But that's kind of the explanation and example that I want to give for this. So I'm just seeing that there's this sort of intuitive or instinctual feeling like something's not right, something isn't fitting anymore, something's misaligned. And that's when you are like, okay, I need some alone time to figure out or to understand like my emotions, because I know that I'm sensitive and I need to step away from others so I can understand this more clearly. So yeah, definitely solitude for group 1. So we have details, which is so interesting because we have 25 and 43, which both add up to 7, and 18 and 27, which both add up to 9. So 7, and then we have a 7 of swords and 7 of wands. So I don't know if 7 or 9 is important to you. Maybe you were born October or November 9th or October or November 7th. Well, since we're talking about Scorpio season, my hunch is November 9th or November 7th. So this could also be a period of introspection because your birthday may be coming up. So there's maybe something about that. Maybe you're inching closer towards your Saturn return, which usually happens between the ages of 27 and 30 or 31. So that could be another thing as well. Okay, magical stream. I'm really trying to avoid reading the cards, but I'm so curious. Magical stream really feels like through understanding the details, and maybe not all the details will be clear to you, but that's where the introspection comes in. I do want to emphasize that if you don't have all of the details within your introspective journey, that's totally okay. Maybe stepping out into nature may assist you with that, and being by water, especially because Scorpio is a water sign. But there's something very cleansing about October for you guys as well, where like through pulling back and really expressing your emotions in a comfortable space, which I feel for y'all is like y'all are the type to like wait to cry until you get home and the door's closed and you're in the privacy of your room, or if you're with somebody that you truly trust. So allowing yourself to cry, take those baths, be by a body of water. I just feel like there's something about, there's like this heaviness that also is released and becomes and leads to this feeling of being refreshed. So purge is a big word that comes to me. So October may be about introspection, purging, detoxifying, self-examination, and self-inquiry, introspection, solitude, hermetism or hermiting. Water is a big element for you, and earth and water are two big elements for you to utilize during this season. So I'm gonna just look at these real quick. I just want to see if there's anything else in here. So details in reverse. Okay, interesting. Envy, jealousy, and possessiveness are the character flaws to be careful of at this time. You or someone is closed off, unable to remain open to new ideas or intimacy. Heed the gentle warning that too tight a hold on what or who you love or what you aspire to will choke the life out of that which you desire. Open your heart and loosen your grip, for what is truly yours can never be withheld from you. If another is shutting you down, let the person be. Don't try to force a door or a mind to open. Interesting. Okay, that's very Scorpionic in nature. Okay. And lastly, 18. So I'm going to just leave that there. I'm not going to add too much to it. If it resonates, it resonates. Then we have magic stream. Everything is connected through the universal flow of consciousness. Wow, this may be a really spiritual month for you, group 1. Every experience you have seems to have its own life story, with a beginning, a middle, and eventually an end. However, there is a danger in seeing events as separate from another, since, in fact, they are all part of a continuity and a greater evolution. Like an ever-flowing magic stream, your experiences filter through the whole world, one leading into another, informing and influencing still more. Inspiration, invention, and revelations rarely come to just one person. The collective awareness is a shared storehouse of potential. When you remember you are part of the fluid continuity of life, you become a channel for great inspiration. Allow the magic to flow through you and carry your dreams into reality. Your success will benefit many. Wow, that's beautiful. That's really awesome. I do want to point out maybe some creativity would be of benefit to you as well. Having a sort of like creative play while you're in this space may help you also move through some of what you're identifying with or kind of sifting through. Wow, that's really powerful. Okay, group 1, that is your reading. Let me know what stuck out for you in the comment section down below, or if it resonated. Like, share, and subscribe for more from me. And if you want to connect with me, I have all of my socials in the description box, as well as my offerings. So I will see you soon. Hey, group 2, if you chose reward, this is your reading on the themes of October. Okay. Okay, so I actually want to start with tarot for y'all. Oh my gosh. So I'm getting okay, I'm gonna mention astrology, so if you want to go underneath the timestamps and click on the astrological birth chart link and look at your birth chart as I'm going through this, you totally can. If you have your time of birth, you definitely will get more specific information, and you can see if anything I'm saying is aligning. So I'm seeing the sun entering the 2nd house, so it's either going to be Libra or Scorpio being illuminated in October. The 2nd house or possibly the 10th house, so Libra in the 10th or Scorpio in the 10th. So that would be Libra in the 10th, Aries. I think that would be Pisces rising. Pisces. No, it wouldn't. I'm trying to... Okay. Aries in the 4th. Pisces in the third, Aquarius in the second. So that would be Capricorn rising. You're either a Capricorn rising, so that would mean that you have Libra in the 10th house. Or you would be, I said, Scorpio in the 10th. So that would be Taurus in the 4th, Aries in the 3rd, Pisces. So either Capricorn or Aquarius rising. So either Libra and Scorpio, either Libra or Scorpio is going to be in your second, I'm seeing, or your 10th house, possibly. Okay, group 2. What does group 2 need to know about their themes for October? Group 2, themes for October for group 2. Themes for October for group 2. Okay. Okay, so I'm feeling a need to slow down here. I need to slow down and to assess where you may be falling into any cycles of connecting your amount of work and hustle. Like, this feels like somebody who thinks that if they hustle, like hustling equates to abundance. And so I feel that there's a need to reconsider your perception of money, your perception of your worth, and how there may be other ways in which you can reach this sort of abundance or reach your desired abundance without having to burn yourself out. So it's almost like you're releasing the old way of earning, the old way of growing wealth. I don't know, I feel that the internet may have something to do with it, or social media may have something to do with it. Like, there's something about, like, playing with the idea of less is more. Virgo and Pluto are your astrological influences. Okay, so this kind of makes sense with Virgo. There may be a like innate sense of needing to be busy, maybe a workaholic syndrome, always like doing the most, but maybe there's a need to balance your intuition with your sense of practicality and literalism. So there may be, this is screaming like manifest money, which I feel like this group would eye roll at for some reason. Some of you may have Mercury in Virgo, or your Pluto placement may fall in your 6th house. So I do want to emphasize that having some sort of magical practice or routine, like manifestation can sometimes be like a mental hygiene, or I can see it as like some sort of like magical routine, but really it's a sense of mental hygiene. So something like that may be beneficial to begin, or maybe you feel called to look into money manifestation, or the practical way to grow abundance, and even like experimenting with different techniques. So this is definitely something around manifestation and money, and manifestation, self-concept, manifestation and worth and self-worth. There's definitely a need to balance your again, like the spiritual realm, or the more esoteric and sort of woo-woo, with practicality and discernment and logic. Yeah, so there may be some experimentation or research around that realm. Yeah, it just seems like there is an encouragement to take a new approach, a different perspective towards how you view money and how to get it and how to earn it. And definitely a unique approach, or maybe some sort of unorthodox approach that you may not be seeing right now. So there may be some need to, and when I say unseen, I'm also being directed towards your intuition once again. So maybe you're not seeing it, but you may be intuitively guided towards something that may be different, a different approach from what you may usually go for, like as far as like work and money. And even the way that you go about your routine may be different. So that may, that's so interesting. I'm getting like this quote about your night really affects your morning, and something connected to like an entrepreneurial, or like success connected to your night routine and your morning routine. So that may be something that you look at as well in the month of October. So yeah, this is a lot of like 6th house energy, I would say. So maybe like the sun is moving through your 6th house, or Pluto may be transiting in your 6th house, or you may actually have your natal Pluto in your 6th house. So something along those lines may be going on for you. Okay, so this is your challenge. The child I was meant to be. That's interesting. Okay, so definitely connecting with play. And we have the full moon here. So there may be a need to release some expectations that you may be carrying from your childhood. And maybe some of you had to grow up kind of fast. And there's this energy of, like this old soul energy of, it doesn't matter how you feel, you have to do this. Or kind of pushing through the mud of doing something even though you don't want to. And there's a thin line between like, there's doing something you don't want to do, but it's in the realm of something you love, if that makes sense. And then there's also doing something you don't want to do because you feel forced and obligated and you have to. So those are two different things. So I feel like as a child, maybe there was a lot of pressure, a lot of criticism or judgment and expectations surrounding like what you should be doing. And especially with a parental figure or some sort of authority figure, or even just like, even within the school system, maybe you were in a Catholic school system or a private school system that was a little bit a strict upbringing and within a school system. And now there's a need to break all of that down. And that could also be why, because I'm starting to feel a connection with you thinking your worth is tied to how much you do for others and how much you do for people and what you can offer to people, and that can lead into also like a toxic loyalty. So you're like, oh, well, I'll never leave their side, or I'm a very loyal employee. Like I'm here even when I don't want to be, and that being is tied to your worth. And I'm also getting a tinge of like this like good girl energy, like a need to always show up and look nice and good, like you would do no wrong. So maybe a fear of looking lazy at work, or a fear of not being enough because you're not doing enough. So this definitely can tie back to your childhood of maybe only receiving praise whenever you accomplished something or did what you were told instead of rebelling. And maybe even being that child that was the golden child out of your siblings, if you do have siblings. So like being praised for always doing well and not straying off, and maybe always being compared to your sibling who was possibly much more rebellious. And you stayed in the straight and narrow, that straight edge path and the traditional path, and follow directions and do what you were supposed to do. So some of you may also be Virgo rising. Okay. So I feel that, I don't know, I'm getting that like your inner child is truly like vibrant and badass, and there may be even a push to be more selfish. And this is more in the realm of, and especially if you're more of a giver and a helper and it's not because you want to, it's because you want to appear a certain way. Oh my gosh. What the hell? I don't know if you heard that. So releasing that and being more selfish in a positive sense, where you're saying no and only helping people when you genuinely want to. And also with the rebellious piece, like being selfish by not being good or being nice or being prudent or polite or modest because you want to make other people comfortable. Being selfish and dressing and expressing yourself in the way that you desire to, despite what other people may say. And some of that like thought process may just be all in your head. So I feel like this group should be more selfish about how they want to show up in the world and that being solely their choice, because they're not a child anymore. So you don't have to do things to appease your parents or to appease authority anymore. You're not in elementary school. You're not getting judged by your uniform and how it looks and all of that stuff. So I know a lot of schools do have uniform. So that's also something I'm getting, is maybe you were in a school all of your life where you couldn't really express yourself. You had a dress code, and you got in trouble or judged if you went astray of that. So there's a lot of like structure and putting in a box, like being placed in a box with this group that you're trying to get out of. So now that I'm looking at this reward, it feels like it's pointing more to worth, which can tie into how we attract money, but there's definitely a need to assess here in October, like a realization or an assessment or an acknowledgement, or a breaking down, a need to break down the idea and this cycle of you connecting your worth with what you do and how you follow the rules and do what you're told. Because there's no room for you to be an individual and express yourself if you're operating in that way. And really, when we look deeper into that, it's a fear. It could be a fear of rejection. It could be a fear of alienation. It could be a fear of rejection would be like being punished, or a fear of being condemned and isolated and judged. So all of this could be coming from a fear ultimately. And I'm looking at the 8 here, so there may be some 8th house energy coming up as well, which may be highlighting fear. So I'm seeing maybe somebody who's a rising Virgo, Sun in Scorpio, or Libra. I'm not getting what the moon sign might be, but the sun may be illuminating your 8th house. There may be some 5th house. So I'm seeing there's the 5th house is important here. The 8th house is important here. And Virgo or the 6th house is important here. So there may be some things going on actively right now, as there's planets transiting and always moving every day. And every few years, like the more generational planets move throughout our chart. So definitely look at that if you're curious, and especially if you're into astrology deeply enough to go and maybe look at some sort of monthly forecast or Scorpio season, Libra season forecast. And if you know your rising sign, which you'll only know if you know your time of birth, you can definitely go look up. I'm trying to think of some that I use. Donna Stillhorn, I think that's her name. She has some really good information on just a forecast for your rising sign. Definitely look if they're going by sign. If you find one that you're drawn to and they're going by sign, use your rising sign, because that's what they're predicting off of, because it's based on how the signs fall in your houses. And then, sorry, that was a spam call. It's just, anyways, I'm not going to go too deep on that, but just if you're curious about that and you're curious about astrology and what I'm talking about, look at the sign by sign predictions for the season, and it's going to be based off of your rising. So you're choosing the sign based on your rising sign. Okay, so moving along, we have, oh my gosh. I don't know if my window is open or something. Okay. Yeah, my window's not cracked, so... Oh my gosh, everything is falling. Okay. Alright. Okay, I'm back. So we have wide open. Wide open as your blessing and lesson. So her position just looks very free and very vulnerable. So there's a need to, and then we have the butterfly here for transformation. There's a real need to ground into a sense of freedom, a sense of relaxation within who you are and how you want to show up. And this, again, with what I said about vulnerability, she looks vulnerable because she's so open. She's not like guarded in any way. There's something vulnerable about allowing yourself to be as you were from youth, to be as you were before the socialization and the need to conform and the programming and all of that. And so I also want to mention, to go deeper on this vulnerability piece, like it could be a little scary and frightening at first. Like maybe you wear, this is a funny example, maybe you wear certain clothes and have been for majority of your life, but you're starting to realize you don't really resonate with that, and that's not really you, as you, again, like are met and coming in contact and realizing like this need to end this cycle of always tending to other people and trying to make them comfortable. So I'm getting strong Libra more than Scorpio. So you may have Sun in Libra or Libra and Virgo placements. So you may step out in something that's more revealing, for example. And you have you have a freak out moment like before you come out of the car, because you're like, oh my gosh, like I always show up this way, like is this too much, like oh my gosh, I'm really nervous, like, you know, maybe you're wearing the color red and you always wear beige or something like that. Or maybe you want to do something different with your hair and you've worn your hair the same way since 3rd grade. And you're just like, ugh, like this is how my mom did my hair and I always wear my hair in this bun. And then suddenly you're just like, you know what? I want to do like skunk highlights. I don't know if you'll know what those are, but I have always wanted to do that. I'm still like, it's still in my mind. Or maybe you want to get a tattoo and you've never gotten a tattoo and you've always been, told that tattoos are evil because you grew up in like a Christian school or something like that. And you're like, I have always wanted tattoos, and I've had this secret Pinterest board of all the tattoos that I thought were so beautiful, but I never thought I could get them. So there may be this initial like fear or hesitation or anxiety that comes when you step out into this new skin. Like you're showing your new skin. You're showing your new outfit, your new tattoo, your new closet of like who you really are. And it may be like this initial fear of like, oh my gosh, I'm going to get judged. I'm going to get rejected, this, and that. If it comes up, it's normal. That's all I want to say about that. It's normal because you're doing something new and you're being vulnerable, because in the past you may have been rejected or punished. It only takes one good time and then you're like, okay, I'm going to follow the rules now. I don't want to be disappointing my family or anything like that. So it may have been one time when you were young and you were like, okay, I'm not going to stray from this straight and narrow path of following the rules. Because that felt so bad. It felt like death. Rejection, punishment. It was horrible. I don't want to go through that ever again. So it's time. It's time. And I feel like it may start with something very light, which maybe outfits aren't necessarily light per se, but I feel like it may start with like your aesthetic or something along those lines. So this is a really fun group, I feel. Yeah, okay, that's everything for you, group 2. Let me know in the comment section down below if anything stuck out for you, if it resonated, and just say hi if you want to. yeah, like, share, and subscribe for more from me. And all my socials and offerings will be in the description box below if you want to check those out as well. All right, I'll see you soon. Hey, group 3. If you chose change and completion, this is your reading. So there's a lot of transformation happening. That's definitely one of the main themes with October, for sure. So there's no lack of that. Okay, so we have completion, and it came out sideways, which is interesting. I was like, should I put it upright, or and I was like, I'm just gonna leave it as it came out. So it's like, I don't know if you're in the process of starting, or you're in the process of it, like in the thick of it, and it's like an inward sort of transformation. And some of you may be in the thick of it, and some of you may haven't, like, you're kind of some of you seem a little bit stubborn, I'll be honest. So, like, you may know, like, you're being pushed to change, and maybe you got distracted along the way, or you hit, like, this uncomfortable place. Completion sideways. It's not exactly incomplete, but again, like, it's in the process. And Two of Wands. Okay. All right. Group 3. What does group 3 need to know about their theme for October? Oh yeah, themes for October. That's why you're here. I don't know if I introed that for the last group. I think I did. I don't know. I didn't intro it for y'all. Okay, group 3. Group 3, introspection. Okay. Introspection, interesting. Group 3, themes for group 3. Okay, Page of Swords. Interesting. I'm getting with group 3 that there's a change and a contemplation with what your passions are and what is truly what true emotional fulfillment means for you. And this could be stemming from a renewal or an upgrade in your mental landscape. So there's a new perspective that you may have received, or a new mindset that you're starting to cultivate and root. And so with this change of thought, this change of mind, this new way of thinking, this fresh perspective, there is a real consideration and exploration of, again, like, what true passion and emotional fulfillment means. And maybe this is reassessing, like, what accolades you've gotten or what you in the past have thought was real success and fulfillment. And now you're like, okay, there's more than this. I can get more than this. There is even more out there. There's more. I can stretch myself further. I can ask for more. So what does that look like for me? Especially with this depiction of this man who is kind of just overlooking. He hasn't moved exactly. He's just kind of looking down, and it's like he's assessing the territory. Like, okay, this is where I'm at right now. Okay, do I want to stay here? There's more to where there's more beyond this castle that I'm standing in, is what I'm getting from this photo. And there's no movement yet. It doesn't seem like he's planning either. It just seems like he's in this in-between phase where he's just kind of deciding, like, should I stay or should I go? It's kind of that vibe. And again, it's like this newness of thought, of mind, may be the reason why you're sort of in this pause of incompletion of change, and this inner change is really having you assess. It's almost like I'm seeing this like percentage bar, like an electronic percentage bar, and it's at like 60% or 55%, something along those lines. So you're like loading, and then for whatever reason it gets kind of stuck on something, and maybe there's a file that I don't know. I'm getting lost in this example, but it just seems as though through this change, and in the midst of this change, you're at this sort of standstill of, again, assessing what really matters to you, what's important to you, and what your desires truly are. And it may be different from when you started this transformation. Aquarius and Sagittarius. Okay. Yeah, so for a lot of you, some of you may have Aquarius or Sagittarius placements. Or this, yeah, so your sun, moon, Mars, something like that. So for this group, freedom is a huge, like, it's in bold letters in my mind. Like, freedom is a big thing for y'all. Freedom and the ability to move around, to be free of movement, to be free of thought also, to be free of expression, to be able to experience a lot of different things. So I feel like this is a part of what you're discovering to be your desire and what you're passionate about. So I'm almost seeing somebody who may have been more traditional, who may have picked the more traditional route, who may have thought like what society told you was what would fulfill you. And it's so interesting because we have two signs that in their maybe more darker expression isn't the word, but there is a level of expression with Aquarius and Sagittarius that can be quite traditional. Sagittarius is connected to spirituality and religion, so there's this dogmatic energy about Sagittarius that can be a little bit stuck in their own beliefs and not as expansive as the Sagittarius archetype can be. And then with Aquarius, because it's double ruled by Saturn and Uranus, which we do have a transit happening that's affecting us individually and collectively, where the planet of Saturn is in the sign of Aquarius right now. So that may be affecting possibly your honestly, Uranus may be in your third house. So that's the other planet that rules Aquarius, which is more to do with rebellion and breaking down systems, whereas Saturn is more to do with tradition and like old times and structure. So I'm more so seeing Uranus being in your 3rd house, your 10th house. I also, before I get too deep, there is a link underneath the timestamps with a astrological calculator that I like to use, and if you have your time of birth, you'll get the specifics of what I'm talking about. That's when the houses matter, is because you would need to know your rising sign to know what I'm talking about. So definitely make sure you have your time of birth. But I'm seeing Uranus moving through your 3rd house, your 9th house or your 10th house, and your 11th house may be affected by possibly Saturn, but I'm getting more so Uranus, which right now Uranus is in Taurus. So I feel that with this group there may have been an inclination to follow the rules for a while, and maybe you really believed in the straight and narrow. Some of you may be coming from group 2 as well, just a little bit of you. But again, there is this traditional side to Aquarius, and also a stubbornness in following that tradition, and a stubbornness in values. So both Aquarius and Sagittarius can be stuck in their ways when it comes to their beliefs and what they believe to be true. And they both have this like essence of falling into tradition as well. So I think that's maybe some of the energy that some of you have been in from the beginning of this transformation, and maybe being introduced to a new philosophy possibly. So it's philosophy, way of thinking, a spiritual modality, or even like astrology could be a philosophy, if you will, or some sort of just very unorthodox way of thinking that's changed your mindset to where now you may be moving from this maybe dogmatic, possibly logical, stubborn, traditional, maybe very like structured and rigid way of thinking and being. And now that you're in the midst of this transformation and change, and this could be again like, this feels more of your mind is changing, not necessarily you physically changing, but your mind, which eventually will affect your actions. So that's where this 2 of Wands comes in, where this man, the Wands is fire, which has to do with action, but the man isn't moving. He hasn't moved. He's just in contemplation. It's like he's in his mind. So there's definitely more of a change in your thought process and your emotions, which is all unseen. So no one knows but you that things are changing, unless you're, of course, like expressing this in a community or a group of people. And that could be another thing. Possibly you found a community of people who also have these ideals that you may not have initially aligned with, and now that you found this community, they've opened your mind to a new way in which you resonate with more. And this has to do with freedom, with openness, with being less rigid, with being more fluid and free-spirited and free-flowing. So I feel like you're changing from, again, this rigidity and putting yourself in a box to breaking open boxes and realizing like, hey, like this doesn't fit me anymore. I actually don't fit in any sort of structure that I believed in now. And that could be kind of intense, especially if you've held these ideas for a really long time. But I've also, again, with the word freedom being bolded in my mind, like there's something that is very lightening about it. Enlightening, and also like you just feel lighter now that you can let this go. So it's really interesting that I'm getting that feeling, because it feels like there was a need to hang on to these ideas, but now that you can let them go, you're like realizing, looking back, like, wow, I actually feel a lot less heavy because I realize like I don't have to hold on to this. I can be open to other things. I don't have to stick to this idea. So it's almost like you're realizing like it's better being open and you're not as stuck in your ways. Okay, I feel like I'm beating a dead horse. All right, masquerade is your challenge for the month of October. So this is very, I just want to see what the moon phase is, because we have moon phases on this side. So I want to see if it's growing or if it's waning. Let's see. It's waning. Okay. Okay, so it's waning. So there is a waning almost of your identity and identifying with a mindset or a belief that you've had, a belief system that you've had for a while. And and if it's not a complete like 180, it's a balancing of what you have thought with what you think now. And somehow they may even fit together, you're realizing. Like you're finding a new thought or a new mindset that may somehow connect with your old mindset. So for some of you, that may be the case. And for another group of you, it may just be a 180 shift. And again, like with the example that I gave, where like you're releasing it and realizing you actually feel better without having to hold on to this belief system. Some of you may not even realize like this is a form of masking yourself and who you are by limiting like the ideas or beliefs that you can hold. Oh, excuse me. And it's exhausting also to carry this identity as well, to carry any sort of identity, especially if it's not, if it doesn't feel light, if it feels forced. So maybe like in a sense, and this could happen a lot with Aquarius and Sagittarius, there's this need to kind of like force almost your beliefs and your ideas on other people to convince them. And in a way, it's like to make yourself more comfortable or to make people think the way that you do. And so there's also, I feel like, a letting go of that through being introduced to something new that changes your mind about something. The blessing for you is number 7, into the unknown. Okay, let's see. The blessing and lesson, into the unknown. Trust and all will be revealed. Inexperience plus overconfidence can lead you into a dangerous situation for which you are unprepared. Always remember that wisdom comes from experience. Keep an open mind and enter this part of your journey with alert eyes. Don't assume you know this territory. You may not recognize what is hidden by camouflage. This is not a time for careless adventure. That's interesting. I feel like what stuck out to me is don't assume you know this territory. So I also want to mention that there could be sometimes with Aquarius Sagittarius energy, there could be this like vibe with Sag, it can be a very know-it-all energy. And with Aquarius, it's very similar. And it's also like this kind of God complexy thing. So when you are in the midst of these communities or anything like that, like, again, like an emphasis on being an open mind and not allowing the idea that you know it all or you already know something to close you off from learning something new. So that's just something I want to emphasize as well, because someone who thinks they know all has no room to grow. So even if in the midst of you learning something, you're getting refreshed on something you may have already read or something like that, like, it's okay to get refreshed. It's okay to hear something and maybe it'll be explained in a different way. So yeah, that's interesting. Freedom. Free yourself from the boxes that you've placed yourself in. And some of these boxes may be beliefs that you so rigidly hold on to prove a point, to seem as though you're the most logical person in the room or the most knowledgeable or open-minded or socially appropriate person in the room. So yeah, okay, group 3. That is your reading for your October themes. Let me know down below if this was helpful, if anything stuck out, or if you just want to say hi. Definitely leave a comment and like, share, and subscribe for more from me. And all of my offerings and socials will be in the description box as well. And I will see you soon.